हेलो 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 हेलो। ये दरवाज़ा बंद करो जरा एक बार। This is English shorthand dictation number 283 and the dictation speed is 100 words per minute. Ready? Start. The outlook for the global economy is gloomy and the possibility of recession across many regions is growing day by day. The geopolitical outline is not showing any improvement. The Russia Ukraine war looks unlikely to end anytime soon, even as its ramifications are being felt across the globe. Disasters due to climate change are occurring frequently, causing harm to many emerging economies. Fragility and uncertainty are the words being used to describe the global economy by International Monetary Fund. Just last year, the world was looking forward to a rapid recovery from a post pandemic scenario. The situation has changed radically with countries facing inflation, high interest rates, high fuel prices, and the prospect of a food crisis. The solution is that the countries must work together to resolve the imminent crisis. The fact is that far from working together, geopolitical strife has been the trigger for the current situation. This is a far cry from the unity displayed during the pandemic when countries sought to ease each other's pain by sharing supplies of medicines, equipment, and vaccines. Though even at that time there was enormous inequality when people in the developed world were easily able to access vaccines, while there was none available for those in many African countries. The situation is far worse now, with the world split into multiple divisions over the conflict in Ukraine. Western countries have imposed widespread sanctions against Russia in an attempt to isolate it economically. This move has backfired as Russia has suspended gas supplies to Europe, while oil prices have remained volatile since February. Energy shortages and high prices have thus hit the global north as hard as they rocked the south in the past. The oil cartel continues to march to the beat of its own drum. In spite of high energy prices having created an economic crisis in both developed and developing economies, it has decided to cut production yet again by 2 million barrels per day from November in a bid to push up prices. It must be recalled that oil prices had shot up immediately after the Russian invasion of Ukraine and hovered for several months at a high level, causing serious concern for emerging economies like India, for whom oil imports comprise 85% of their consumption. But world prices moderated over the past 2 months owing to fears of recession and lowered demand, along with sizable releases from the US strategic reserves. However, the relief on this front was short lived, with the latest announcement of production cut by the oil cartel. Another factor which has increased the global economic woes has been the slowdown in China, owing to stringent curbs linked to the zero COVID policy. Growth in the Chinese economy is expected to slow to less than 3% this year, creating a ripple effect in the rest of the world. The strengthening of the dollar and the resulting depreciation of other world currencies must also be mentioned in this context. Like the Reserve Bank of India, many other countries have been drawing on foreign exchange reserves to defend their currencies with varying degrees of impact. Yet, the dollar has continued to rise and will do so till investors continue to flock for greater returns to the US. In this grim external backdrop, the Indian economy is being seen as an outlier in many ways, even though global developments have cast a shadow on its recovery. The World Bank has just downgraded its growth forecast for the current year to 6.5%, though the government is still confident of touching 7%. At this level, it still remains among the fastest growing economies in the world. The positive points for higher growth are the buoyant inflows of both direct and indirect taxes and effective inflation management. The ability to buy oil at discounted rates from Russia has also played no mean role. On the negative side is a depreciating rupee along with hardening oil prices that will hit efforts to contain the fiscal deficit within budgetary targets. Better corporate results and recovery of large industry may be continuing, but small and medium enterprises are feeling the pain of high energy prices and costs imposed by disruption of global supply chains. A critical element of weakness remains low investment levels, a factor pointed out recently by Finance Minister of India. The export curve has also flattened owing to demand falling in key Western markets. Unemployment levels are reported to be improving compared to the 2 years of pandemic, but high prices are hurting those at the bottom of the pyramid. In these circumstances, the government is politically correct in continuing the free food grain scheme for a few more months. However, in the face of adverse external headwinds, there is no doubt that India has been able to weather the crisis much better than most others. The question is whether it will continue to buck international trends in a medium or long term perspective. Already, financial agencies have warned that the growth in the next fiscal year may end up dipping to 5.2%. At this stage, geopolitical developments remain in a state of flux given the fact that the Ukraine conflict is going on ceaselessly. In such a situation of volatility, it is difficult to make a forecast even for next year. But one thing is certain: investments will have to pick up substantially to enable this year's growth to be sustained over a longer period. Otherwise, global headwinds may overwhelm even this outlier in the grim world economy. In recent years, articles and papers written on the decline and demise of democracy have been so widespread that the argument has become repetitive by now. The right wing populists have come to power. Procedures and practices that protect citizens are being destructed. Rule of law is being suspended. There are crackdowns on civil society. And then there is a complicit media and judiciary.